NXT is at San Jose State University tonight. For reasons. Let's talk about it. Aren't you glad it's not Raw? What's going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal Spaz Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check, and I am here with your November 28th NXT review. Got a couple cool things to talk about before we get into NXT, as usual. Had the pleasure of going to Destiny's Fearless first ever iPay-per-view this past Sunday. It was a lot of fun. I'd really be interested down in the box below if any of you guys caught it on Fight TV, or if any of you were there on the show that I just didn't see or anything like that. Got to meet one of the people that I've spoken to about the shows before, Danny Nolan. Quick shout out to her. Obviously I was there with Dakota, as I usually am. Really good show. I don't really know what to say. I put up a slideshow, as I usually do, a couple of videos, couple photos. Got to use some really generic copy-free music, so don't mind the music while you're watching the slideshow. But I will say a couple of things. Josh Alexander versus Rich Swann. They made some adjustments to the card online the day before, and then they made some more adjustments on the day. The title match ended up being a one-on-one match. It was supposed to be interim Destiny champion Josh Alexander taking on Rich Swann and Rey Fenix. Rey Fenix got injured. Then the substitute was going to be Teddy Hart, and then that meant Channing Decker was going to take on somebody else. And then Teddy Hart got hurt, so they just said, fuck it. It's going to be Rich Swann versus Josh Alexander. Josh Alexander is a fucking beast. There's a spot, and you'll see it if you watch the video. Rich Swann goes for a top rope head scissor. He catches it midair, drops him into a power bomb, but it's a power bomb over the knee, and then immediately turns it into a tombstone pile driver, and it's just all so fucking fluid. Rich Swann, who I have mixed opinions on at the best of times, was really awesome in this match. A couple of people that I've never seen before, Channing Decker, hardcore Channing Decker, who was supposed to take on Teddy Hart, ended up taking on Moose from TNA. Moose is from the little bit, sorry, my glasses are doing a thing, don't mind me. Is, you know, from TNA. I don't really watch TNA anymore. I've seen him a couple of times. The guy's impressive as hell, but hardcore Channing Decker, anybody that will take a straight super kick from Moose with a mouthful of thumbtacks is alright by me. Shotzi Blackheart, never seen her before either, was cheering on her almost immediately, even though she was taking on the hometown girl, Silesia Sparks, who was really cool in her own right, but people were telling me, if you've never seen Shotzi Blackheart before, then really, you know, open your eyes, go check her out. I got a chance to meet her after the show. Fucking sweetheart. And I mean, the comedy cherry on top of the cake was Robbie E., who I haven't seen in a long time because, again, TNA taking on Destiny Wrestling's own Stone Rockwell, and that was just fucking class. Anyways, the whole thing was great. There was a fatal five-way that wasn't announced, and it was won by Destiny Wrestling original Aiden Prince, who is pretty fantastic in his own right as well. 450 splash on 4 other guys for the win, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, he was the smallest guy in the match. Now, 2 fellas, whose names I cannot remember for the life of me, took on the Desi Hit Squad. Desi Hit Squad came out, did the typical heel thing, bashing Canada, etc. You know, we hate being in America, but we hate it even more up here. And so the other 2, Justin Insane and Gene something or other that I can't really remember, they both came out doing the babyface thing with the Canada flags. Before the match started, 1 or 2 guys in the front row, very close to where I was, got up and started singing the Canadian national anthem. Eventually, we all joined in, and it was awesome to see all 4 wrestlers in the ring kind of like stop and just sort of look at the crowd and be like, should we let them finish? I guess we should let them finish. It was a lot of fun. It was a really fun show. Anyways, like I said, anybody that caught the iPay-per-view on Fight TV, I'd really like to know how it translated on there. I was sat right next to Scott D'Amore and Santino Marella, who were on commentary. That was another cool thing. Alicia Atu, as I said in my preview video, hosted the whole thing, and she's just fucking gorgeous, if nothing else. Great show. If you saw it, I'd love to know what you thought. that's enough on that. Check out the video if you like. What I've also just put up on the channel is the November Q&A. Yes, it was a bit late. Yes, it was supposed to be before Survivor Series. I don't know why I make those announcements anymore. Something always comes up, but the November Q&A is there. It is there in the books. If you want to be part of the January Q&A that is hopefully going to be taped before Royal Rumble, take that video, put your questions down in the comment section below, etc. Speaking of December, we are at the end of November. This and the 2 NXT UK episodes that happen tonight are going to be the last reviews you will get out of me this year, which is awesome because that means the last 2 reviews I'm going to do are going to be main evented by Jordan Devlin versus Pete Dunne, and the crowning of the first ever NXT UK Women's Champion. If you don't already know who those are, if you don't already know who that is, if you've been living under a rock, I'm going to get to talk about that. And that is literally going to be the last review you're going to get out of me this year. Over the course of December, I'm going to be on the December hiatus. You guys know the drill by now that have been following me for a long time. You don't get any reviews out of me over the course of December. Difference being this year, you are going to get a preview for TLC. Myself, Kristen, Guapo are going to talk about that. Might talk about NXT UK a little bit in that, because we did also get the announcement that we are getting an NXT UK Blackpool takeover on, I believe, the 12th of January, which is fucking awesome, which means in January we are getting not only the Royal Rumble, which is going to be in a stadium and fucking huge, we're getting 2 takeovers in January, which is fucking great. Anyways, we're getting the Pick 'em for TLC, which is going to be a lot of fun. It's already shaping up to be pretty good. We just heard it announced last night that Asuka, Becky Lynch, Charlotte in the first ever triple threat women's TLC match of awesomeness. I guess if it doesn't main event the show, then WWE's doing something wrong. But look at Monday. Drake Maverick pissed on a robe, and that cost somebody the tag team champion. Anyways, hopefully there's going to be 2 other topical videos coming out over the span of December as well. But as far as the actual weekly review stuff you see on here, that will return in January. Now, let's talk about NXT before I'm out of breath. Once again, as I say, we're broadcasting for some reason from the San Jose State University Sportsplex, I think. It's cool. It's a bigger crowd, but yet it gave it the house show feel, which is really, really nice. Lorcan and Birch versus the Mighty was the first match of the night. These guys are all right. They fight a lot. They just do. I want to say something, all right? Lorcan and Birch are an awesome team. I do think it's kind of weird how Birch is pulling double duty. He's a singles guy in NXT UK, which is fine. He's a tag team guy here with Lorcan, which is fine. It makes me wonder whether he's ever going to hold gold on either show if he's splitting his attention. That's another thing for another day. I'm not really going to get into it, because as I say, I used to hate the Mighty. I like them now. I think they're doing the heel thing really, really well. Lorcan and Birch are just like stiff as hell. Really, really hard workers, etc. There's one moment in the match where Thorne, towards the end of the match anyways, Thorne and Miller pick up Lorcan and throw Lorcan at Birch in the corner. And there's a clusterfuck ending and a quick roll up by Lorcan, and they still beat up Lorcan and Birch after the match, and that's just it. Now, they were talking on commentary a lot about how the Mighty have had their problems with the Street Profits. Now, if they want to go and revisit the thing with the Street Profits or make this a triple threat, you got a lot of good wrestlers in there. But for some reason or other, I just couldn't sink my teeth into the match tonight. I don't really want to go through the details because while the wrestling was good, there was nothing that stuck out. I really hope that doesn't come off as me being shitty and half-assed. But there's other things I could talk about. Instead, we replay the Undisputed Era beating down EC3 4-on-1 from a couple of weeks ago when Bobby Fish fucked his leg hard with the chair. It's all good, where he's going to have his return match tonight. He's taking on Marcel Bartel, who I've seen at house shows. He's there. He's a guy to put in the ring. That's about it. He yells 9 a lot, which is great. When I saw him at a house show, it was a surprising NXT return for Ty Dillinger. So every time he yelled out 9, the crowd rolled out with 10. Or after Ty Dillinger referred to him as a 1, they would shout 1 and 10 at him every time he yelled out 9. But that's just house show fun stuff. Marcel Bartel, although he's a decent mechanic in the ring, that's all he is. He's a body. He's a body to put in there with EC3 so we can talk about EC3. Anyways, so we've got that to look forward to. Basically, EC3 versus your WWE 2K fill-in-the-blank various character. We see highlights once again from TakeOver of the Baszler versus Sane match. We have an interview in the back with Kairi Sane, Io Shirai, and Dakota Kai. The crux of it is the three of them want to take on the Three Horsewomen. Now, I do want to go back when we talked about the preview of TakeOver, because somebody kind of crassly left in my comment section, you know, if they're going to have three of the Four Horsewomen on sorry, I lost my train of thought. If we're going to have three of the Horsewomen on NXT, why do... the phrasing of this was terrible. But it's like, if she's going to have three opponents, why doesn't Kairi Sane just go round up three other Japanese? Which is terribly racist, but very close to what NXT actually did. Io Shirai, well documented, is Kairi Sane's good friend, and Dakota Kai is another babyface you can put in there, because Dakota Kai, Bayley done properly, along with Xia Brookside, it just works. Dakota Kai, being that super nice person who is actually upset with what's happening in the division, does play really well. Remember when we loved Bayley like that? Remember when there wasn't a totally contrived interact with the fans segment that just had Bayley telling Alexa Bliss to go to hell, and Raw was interesting, wasn't it? Good lord. On a side note, you know what it is, and I'll be perfectly honest with you guys. Had a long day at work, and on my way home from work I was listening to Wrestle Culture, and Wrestle Culture were going over what happened on Raw, and most of it is just laughing for the sake of not crying. So I've got Monday Night Raw still in my head, like a lingering... I don't want to say like a lingering cancer, because then that's like Roman Reigns' leukemia, and we're doing a story about that on Monday Night Raw, and fuck. And we're attacking Jeff Hardy's substance abuse issues on Tuesday. We're making fun of Natty's dead dad, and... There's a reason I only review NXT, guys. Come on now. Anyways, long story short, we're going to get Baszler, Marina Shafir, and Jessamine Duke versus Kairi Sane, Io Shirai, and Dakota Kai at some point, probably over December, while I'm not doing reviews. Because fuck me, right? Anyways, let's talk about something else. Let's talk about EC3 being over as hell, taking on Marcel Bartel. Two loud NX3 chants, which are always good. Match was short, and I'm going to say this for the remainder of the show. All the matches were short and just kind of there. My investment in the people makes me want to talk about them, which is why the Mighty versus Lorcan and Birch kind of fails a little bit. Anyways, collar and elbow tie-up and a push-off and a pie face by Bartel to start the match. Side headlock by EC3, a corner enziguri by Bartel, mudhole stomp by Bartel, right hands, and he hits a sort of a twisting white noise, which was cool. I'll give him that. Bartel rides a headlock for a long time and turns it into an armbar face-lock combination. Body shots and a back elbow by EC3, front slam and a 1%er by the 1%er for the 1-2-3. EC3 is your winner, and then he cuts a promo. Because Marcel Bartel has served his fill-in-the-blank guy here purpose, he just leaves. EC3 cuts a promo, says this isn't a message for the Undisputed Era, this is only and specifically a message for Bobby Fish. I'm coming for you, I'm going to find you, I can be a very vindictive person, blah 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 blah. Now, the promo itself was quite generic in the grand scheme of things, I'll give you that. But it's very, very cool that he's specifically calling out Bobby Fish, and it makes sense because he's the one that ultimately did the thing to his leg. But if you think about it in the grand scheme of things, if you're going to call out an individual in the Undisputed Era, it's either going to be Roderick Strong or Adam Cole, unless you're a tag team, in which case you're going to call out, you know, maybe Bobby Fish, Kyle O'Reilly together. If you're looking at that group of four, you're not going to get somebody just calling out Bobby Fish or just calling out Kyle O'Reilly, typically speaking. So this is interesting. This is a story that can exist while Adam Cole and Roderick Strong and even Kyle O'Reilly are doing other things, because I don't have much of an opinion on Bobby Fish, only because he was injured for so long, so it gave me a chance to get to know this new heel Roderick Strong, which I already kind of had an opinion on. Adam Cole, who's clearly the leader, clearly the most charismatic, clearly, I've said it before, the second coming of Shawn Michaels as far as his persona goes. And Kyle O'Reilly just being sort of like the third guy, weird guy, super technical, but I'm still going to do the Hogan air guitar on my tag team title belt as I come down to the ring guy. So the one that doesn't really have any fan currency from me at the moment is Bobby Fish. So if this is how we're addressing that issue, this is fucking brilliant. Anyways, So that's probably to come over December when I'm not doing reviews, which is fine. VANESSA BORNE, speaking of people that don't really have fan currency with me, taking on YIM, who's fucking wonderful. Look great in the Mae Young Classic. Why did they have her lose to Bianca Belair, whose gimmick is still shit? YIM, straight out of the Mae Young Classic, starts off in the ring, offers VANESSA BORNE a handshake. BORNE answers with a slap. Rolling arm drags by YIM, armbar and a hair takedown. Mounted punches by YIM and a thumb to the eye by BORNE. Forearms by BORNE, a choke on the turnbuckle. She does this really, really cool thing where she's got YIM face first into the second turnbuckle and then sort of wraps her legs around her, sort of grapevines the head, but grapevines the head against the turnbuckle. So she's choking YIM with the second turnbuckle. I have not seen anything like that before. I will give her credit for that. Neckbreaker by BORNE, suplex neckbreaker combination twisting thing by BORNE. Armbar takedown by YIM. Tarantula by YIM. Boot, dropkick, haluva kick, eat defeat. YIM gets the win. YIM is fucking wonderful. I would love to see, right now, even though it wouldn't be for a title, which it doesn't need a title, because I think it just would be great, YIM versus Nikki Cross. Let's get that shit going. Anyways, speaking of let's just get that shit going, our main event, King Kong versus Godzilla, Lars Sullivan versus Keith Lee. I expected this to be boring, and it wasn't. I expected this to be plodding and trudging and, you know, with all the respect I can muster, sort of Big Show Mark Henry-esque. And it really wasn't. It started off slow. It graduated. It got really great. By the end of it, I was bummed that it was done. Also, side note, this was a really short episode of NXT. I think it was only about 50 minutes long, which is kind of nice. Again, when you think back to Raw, which was terrible. Jesus Christ, are we all just in recovery from Raw? As I said, I listen to a lot of What Culture, and, you know, they'll be honest about it, but, you know, they try to be somewhat positive. They absolutely slated that show. My good buddy Connor, a.k.a. OK Fabe, who is the guy in this community, positive as fuck, he admitted live on his stream that Raw broke him. I mean, JD bitched about it, but JD bitches about it when things are good, so that's not really a barometer, is it? Anyways, let's go back to this. I don't want to talk about idiots from New York. Shoving match to start, some dueling shoulder blocks. They do this thing where it's not just a, you know, the typical dueling shoulder block is where you just run into somebody and they just stand still. They did this thing that was almost like a pendulum. One would run, hit the other, they would come off the ropes and hit back. It almost made me think, and this is going to be, you guys are going to laugh at me. Prepare to laugh. You have my permission to laugh. It reminded me of those things that rich people have on their office desks. You know, where you pull the marble back and they go back and forth. That's kind of what these guys did for a while, which is kind of, it was interesting. It was a little different take on something that we're all very, very familiar with. Corner spear by Lars, left hands by Lee, and a body avalanche by Lars. Crossbody by Lee. The crossbody by Lee it's again, it's what we used to say about Bray Wyatt. Somebody that size shouldn't be able to work that way. But WWE these days are just finding guys that big that can work that way. Boot by Lars, another corner spear, side slam by Lars, clothesline, second rope headbutt by Lars, and that's at the halfway point of the match. I'm sorry, the second rope headbutt by Lars Sullivan is a fucking terrifying prospect and should be the end of the match. But anyways, crossface shots by Lars, a headlock and clubs to the back, a reverse bear hug by Lars twice, once around the head, the other up under the armpit, just making it a really, really awkward hold. You can put somebody in a really pretty looking, perfectly executed hold, but if you can make that hold look extra awkward, it presents the idea of extra pain. Reverse bear hug by Lars, corner splash, but then he goes for a spear and he spears the post. Right hands by Lee, slingshot crossbody over the top rope by Lee, who is a good, I think they said 350, I'm pretty sure it's more than that. They trade some punches, they trade some chops, and Lee hits the pounce. Sullivan bails to the outside, and I shit you not, Keith Lee, 350 pound at least, Keith Lee hits a suicide twisting crossbody to the outside. Fucking fantastic. But his moonsault misses, Sullivan gets his shit together, hits the freak accident, and gets the win. This match is going to happen again. This match should happen again. For a match that I figured was going to be the drizzling shits, this was a really, really good match. And this was this show. there was nothing absolutely spectacular about this show, but this was just a good, solid show. We got stuff to look forward to going forward. I want to see what Mia Yim does next. I want to see this Bobby Fish and EC3 thing. I want to see what happens with the Mighty and Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch and possibly the Street Profits, even though tonight wasn't spectacular. I want to see other things. I mean, Ciampa was in the back cutting another backstage promo. It's basically, I'll be there next week, you know, be sure to follow your leader. And I could come up here and I could tell you that his backstage promo was great, his delivery is great, his heel charisma is great, but I feel like I'm beating a dead horse with that, because we know that, because it's so prominent and just so known by the fan base at this point that I don't need to say it, which is good. We're going to get that 3-on-3 match with Kairi Sane and Io Shirai and Dakota Kai versus the Three Horsewomen. It's kind of a weird dynamic there, because you're introducing Io Shirai to the NXT universe in the context of a 6-person tag, where she's going to be in there with 2 other people that are also making their debuts, in Jessamine Duke and Marina Shafir. You're also using Dakota Kai, who's really making more of an name for herself on the other NXT, and you're really drowning out the whole championship aspect by putting the champion and her last main challenger in a you know, sort of a clusterfuck 6-person situation. Doesn't mean I think the match is going to be bad, though. There's a lot of stuff going on. I'm really worried about what they're going to do with Nikki Cross, unless they're developing the story between her and Candice LeRae, which I'd really like to see. The fake paparazzi with the cell phone gimmick that they do on NXT, a little too much. They tried to get more answers out of Candice LeRae about Johnny Gargano, and she basically brushed them off and whatever. I do want to say, and I'm glad I remembered that, actually, because I do want to say, because it makes me think of what's going on Raw as well. It is sort of tracing the line of what we see on Raw with Renee Young. Renee Young trying to do her commentary job, and Michael Cole and Corey Graves constantly, like, sort of needling her about, like, information about Dean Ambrose, where she has to sit there on camera and say, no, I don't know what my husband is doing, which makes her kind of look like an idiot. It's getting to that on NXT. I mean, NXT does it better. NXT is a lot more subtle. We know this. You know, all the reasons NXT is better than Raw and SmackDown. Rah. Let's make a list. But this whole idea where we bring in Candice LeRae and they can't avoid her identity being Johnny Gargano's wife. Now, you can't ignore that she's Johnny Gargano's wife, but she needs to have more identity than that. That's all I'm saying. It's the Kane scenario. There's no scenario where Kane isn't just standing there as, yeah, that's the Undertaker's brother, kayfabe. There's no scenario where Christian was able to stand out on his own other than, oh yeah, that's Edge's buddy. I really don't want to have a scenario where Candice LeRae is sitting there and not able to ever get out of the shadow of, oh yeah, that's just Gargano's wife. Because I think she's great, and I think she deserves a lot more than that. And you read the story about her ring gear for the NXT that was filmed before TakeOver, and she's out there in that different gear, and you find out the cool story that I think they put out on No DQ and a couple of other things. I don't know whether they actually put it on WWE or not, but you hear that cool story about how her niece actually drew her that, you know, drew her a picture or whatever, and she had it made into ring gear, which I think is a nice little thing. Push stories like that. Enhance her character. Stop hounding her for information about her husband. Very similar to what they're doing to Renee Young on Raw. Obviously, because it's Raw, it's 3 times worse. I'm rambling now. This was a good show. There's a whole lot we have to look forward to. As far as reviews go, as far as NXT reviews go, I will see you guys next year. You're going to get 2 more NXT UK reviews out of me. And then I'm on sabbatical for December, because that's what I do, but you're going to get some other topics. You're still going to hear me ramble about various shit. We're going to talk about TLC. Until then, I've been Spaz, your YWC reality check. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation, keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I will talk to each and every last one of you later, but for right now, I am tagging out. Bye, guys.
You're a freak like me.